The story of the man who is almost a man is a great story about a young man named Dave who thinks he is old enough to be a man and wants to buy a gun. He buys a gun for $2 and feels confident that he is a man. Later in the story, he plays around with the gun in the woods and accidentally shoots his neighbor's mule. Instead of admitting to what he has done, he tries to lie to everybody about how the mule died. Eventually, everybody finds out what had happened and Dave runs away on a train. In this story, the man who is almost a man, Dave was not mature enough to be a man. He couldn't accept the responsibility of having a gun at the end of the story. He couldn't accept the consequences for his mistakes. The story begins with Dave wanting to buy a gun. Everybody he encounters about it says he is too young to have one because he is just a boy, but Dave insisted that he was indeed a man and needed a gun. To purchase the gun, his mother gave him $2 to buy it and told him to bring it straight back to his mother. The gun was supposed to be for Dave's father. However, instead of doing what his mother told him, Dave went out to the fields to play with it. I think Dave thought he was a man just because he was working and making money on his own. And since he had money, what would be a more manly thing to buy than a gun? When Dave came home that night, his mother demanded the gun, but Dave lied to her and told her it was hidden outside. So far in the story, Dave has lied and disobeyed his mother several times. I think this is one of many stupid and immature things Dave did. If Dave had just done what his mother told him to do, he would have never gotten into the trouble he did. Another thing that Dave did that showed his immaturity was not taking responsibility for what he did. In this story, he killed his neighbor's mule Jenny and tried to lie to everybody about what had happened. Eventually, Dave's neighbor and a crowd of people figured out what had happened and started laughing at him. Dave was very embarrassed. After he got the punishment for it, he snuck out that night with the gun to play with it again. He was still embarrassed about the whole thing and couldn't get everybody's laughter out of his head. He was also worried about how his dad was going to beat him and how everybody treated him like a little kid even though he believed he wasn't. He couldn't stand living in there any longer. He remembered that the only thing that made him feel good and like a man was shooting that gun. That night, Dave took the gun and ran away on the train. I think this shows that Dave really is a kid and not a man. Whenever times got hard on him, he would lie or run away from his problems. He also couldn't obey his parents. He would sneak around and lie about things to his parents. Part of growing up is obeying and telling the truth to your elders and always taking responsibility for your actions. In this story, Dave couldn't do it. He knew that he had made a mistake of shooting Mr. Hawkins' horse, but he couldn't stay and face the consequences. He had to lie and try to get away with it.